Laws do not protect your rights. Alright, so about 8 days ago is the last time I saw Raymond. I have been asking around. Some of the people that I'm aware know him. I asked homeless people first. I don't know what to do about that situation because I have to be afraid to talk to police alone. The officers in this town, they destroy a lot of people's lives. They make a living off of destroying poor people's lives in specific. But once in a while they catch a criminal, right? Ain't none of these people hardened criminals. None of them. Wolnez ain't a hardened criminal. Raymond ain't a hardened criminal. John ain't a hardened criminal. I heard some yelling earlier. I couldn't hardly hear it over the wind, though. I thought to myself, man, if that's Wolnez out here screaming in this shit, well, he's not having much fun because it's fucking cold. And I stayed in my car, and even though I heard some stuff hit my vehicle and heard some screaming, it wasn't anything big and heavy. It didn't break my window. And it might have been something blowing off of the trees that they got here. Because it was seriously that windy earlier. There was a couple of times I heard some hooting and hollering and shouting, and it wasn't him, it was some other folks. So I didn't see him or hear him to my knowledge today. There's the possibility, but I wasn't going to get out of my vehicle with it blowing like that. It hurts to stand up, it hurts to sit down. As soon as you become homeless, you're a free target. And those of you who I have to explain that to over and over again, that the police don't do their jobs for homeless men, nobody does. That's why we need a friend or family member to help. But then again, if we had a friend or family member that cared, we wouldn't have been homeless to begin with. When your family pretends you don't exist until you have money they can squeeze you out of, they're not family, they're relatives. Big fucking difference. We've gotten to hear a lot of people out here call other people family after doing horrible shit to them. There was over 30 people there when Jamie got punched in the head by a guy who claimed to be her brother-in-law. Well, he started off claiming he was her brother, that they were family. The thing about Jamie is she ain't got no husband down there. She ain't got no family coming to see her. And she has family in that town, and once in a while they do come down and see her. Once in a great while. But the horrible shit that she goes through. And that guy want to say that those are his family. Just because you hang out with people and cheat them and connive them doesn't make them family. Maybe your family was like that. Maybe that's what you think family's supposed to do. I know my family certainly thinks that's what you're supposed to do. My family are the type of folks that'll abuse you, but they think that you're supposed to forgive them because they say that they love you and in Jesus' name. How many child molesters we got playing Christian right now? That's not the only position of power that people can abuse. For someone like me, someone they're just going to call mentally ill because they don't want to do their job, if I have somebody go in with me and actually help me, like family would, I don't have to encounter that problem. But after they've committed those crimes, I do have to encounter that problem. The bias against homeless people is just too great. The bias against men is just too great. I didn't fight for special rights. I fought for equal rights. Now we want to argue, oh, well, how about not equal, but equitable? Like, holy shit, you guys are just going to fuck around with the English language until we get nothing accomplished. You're going to change the meaning of every word until we get nothing accomplished. Having polling places in poor neighborhoods and rich neighborhoods. That's equality. What it takes to make that equality is equity, right? Well, we should only put the polling booths in the rich people areas because only the rich people are paying enough taxes to be allowed to actually vote, right? How many of you want to have that argument? The majority of the people in this country are not rich. Now, one of the things that we've had to try to destroy in the United States, and Ronald Reagan did try to destroy it too, but he did it the wrong way. And that's the idea that everybody who's different should be locked up in an insane asylum, as if they're all nut jobs. When the reality is most of these people are showing signs of trauma. Wolnez is pissed off because he got busted doing wrong shit. But he's not the only person. When people get busted doing wrong things to you, you're damn right they're going to go slandering your name to everybody that they know, trying to convince people not to listen to you. I tell people to listen to my predators, so they understand why I'm being harmed. Instead of saying, I don't understand, how about you listen to one of them videos? Where they try to paint me out to be a monster because they abused me until I had a mental fucking breakdown. Just like the cops. They don't want to do their jobs. I'm homeless. I don't matter. Just pawn me off on mental health. Who says, oh, that's not what we do. But while we're here, we'll make sure we get some money out of you. We'll get some money out of the American taxpayers if you're broke. We'll waste your time and drag shit out for years. America. Fuck yeah. Now, what's this got to do with Raymond? Well, out here, when you tell somebody no, it's not necessarily taken well. I've been real super nice to Raymond, and the last time that I saw him, I wasn't telling him no. He wanted a cigarette. I had one cigarette. I offered to share it with him, and I have it recorded. But he got angry because I wouldn't give him a cigarette, and he stormed off, and I haven't seen him since. It does bug me that he stole a blanket out of my vehicle without letting me know. But when I asked about him the next day, he admitted to it. I was fairly sure I knew who it was anyway. He told me he'd bring the blanket back. I told him, I don't want you freezing. It's freezing again tonight. Next day, he told me that it got stolen. Of course, when he was asking me for a cigarette, I'd given him stuff to tie up his pants. I'd given him a hoodie so he could cover up and wasn't exposing his backside and didn't have to walk around with no shirt on. And he doesn't really contribute anything to me. He does want to hang out with somebody. When he comes and asks me if I want to hang out, he always wants to ask me to go do a bunch of things and run around to a bunch of places that I just ain't got the ability to do that. Now, he's somebody I'm used to seeing every day. And I didn't see Darren for about a week and a half down where he flies. I was worried something bad might have happened to him. And luckily, he got into some sort of housing here. Now, he told me before that he'd been trying for housing for a really long time. There just wasn't any. It's not that there aren't any houses here whatsoever for people in that situation. It's the fact that there's a very limited number of beds, and people here like it that way. People here don't want a massive influx of homeless people. Why do all these cities spend so much money trumping up charges on homeless people and then paying bus tickets to get them out of town? Well, they do that trumped up charges and then letting you go with a bus ticket thing because they're hoping you won't come back. They're hoping you won't have the money to come back to go to court. Chances are pretty good they're not even going to tell you that you have court, though. And they're not going to let you get the evidence that shows that you were the one who was fucked with when they've got you arrested on some bullshit. Your public pretender isn't going to help you make bail. And if you're homeless, obviously you're just fucked. Nobody gives a holy goddamn about you. And the longer you're homeless, the more it fucks with your credit, which is very important. And then, of course, because you're homeless, your guilt is just assumed. That's pretty goddamn important. Because you're going to get fucked with pretty much right away by police. Now, there are some places that'll help you out. A lot of these services that I'm sent to that don't listen to me at all do help out some other people. And they fuck over some other people. When it comes to doing anything about abuse, like taking it fucking seriously, nobody's done that. Instead, they antagonize. It's important to actually have the recordings and to listen to them in their entirety. Instead of just pulling out bits and pieces out of context at will. I don't know where Raymond is. I've had one person tell me they think he's probably dead, but didn't give any reason for it. Other than a lot of people are pissed off at him. If you guys listen to Raymond on my channel, I mean, seriously, that's not somebody that you want to fuck with. Messing with Raymond is about like messing with an 8-year-old. Maybe a 6-year-old who's got a smoking habit. Some days he's just slightly more there mentally. I don't know his last name, and I don't think I have any actual video footage of him. I think it was just recordings of me speaking with him. I know John, he disappeared for about a week. Yesterday, well, day before yesterday, I was speaking with Josh, his plan was to go in with John to help get John sobered up. I'm hoping that happens. And I did get to see John, so I know he's alive. But with all the people that are dead, there's a lot of people that I've personally met that went missing that are still alive. They're fine. And there's a lot of them that are not fine. A lot of them went through real traumatic ordeals that really fucked their heads up. I also know people like Natalie Bollinger who are dead. People like Christian Alexander Sharrow, who is dead. When Natalie Bollinger disappeared, I tried telling Kayla Trujillo what was going on. It's what I was at her house for before we knew Natalie disappeared. I had to try to turn in Ken Wilson and Leatha Plunkett, and I had to try to turn in all of the bullshit with Natalie Bollinger. All of the stalking, all of the harassment. That is literally specifically what I was at her house for. And she knew it. After Natalie disappeared, You get to see people, well, they just wanted to hide their heads. They didn't want anybody to know that they were involved in this situation. They were willing to argue under false names with people on Facebook. Like Miss Peaches, a.k.a. Kayla Trujillo. She goes by Lilithu Sophia Krishnadas. Now, with each of these people, when they got busted telling the truth, wanted to throw tantrums. They're allowed to throw tantrums. I'm not. I'm not allowed to throw tantrums. I'm not allowed to be angry. I'm not allowed to be sad. Literally any emotion that I could possibly have is apparently not okay. It's not that men don't have emotions. It's that we're not allowed to have emotions. Meanwhile, we teach girls from birth how to manipulate one very important aspect of being a male. Males are taught from birth that it is our job to protect women and children. Nobody's going to protect us. I've also known a lot of assholes who married women who did protect them because they were assholes. That's not men's fault that you're attracted to assholes. And it's not our fault that your focus is on crap like that. That's one thing about autistic folks. Most of us are goal-oriented people. But for most of us, our goal isn't to go out and get laid. For most of us, our goal isn't to bullshit every person that we meet. Neurotypicals tend to be dishonest. People with Asperger's tend to be more honest. Manipulating the situation that people did in the way that they manipulated it isn't just immoral, it's illegal. And I proved it by doing some of those things back. Some of those things, because there are things people have done to me that I don't have it in me to do back to them. As long as you're not putting Haldol and Ativan in me, it's going to be real difficult for you to elicit a violent response out of me. When you're a disabled homeless man, you need to go in with a friend or family member to go to the hospital. If you have to try to turn in police officers, you need a friend or family member to help with that too. When a police officer that you're trying to turn in, and you're told you got to turn him into himself, and he takes you to a hospital, the hospital's going to listen to him because he's got a badge. They're not going to listen to you. You can have a backpack full of evidence showing that you're the one telling the truth. And they'll place it right outside of the door where you can see it. But lock the door so you don't have access. Oh, you're on suicide watch for suicidal ideations. Bitch, I wasn't trying to kill myself. I was trying to turn in predators. But you get to hear these folks time and time again trying to reword everything that I'm saying. By the time Wolnez assaulted me at the churches, I'd already gone to the churches about assaults. And they didn't have an appropriate reaction to that. I recorded their inappropriate responses to people being abused. The reason that at-risk adults are at risk to begin with is because of lack of support, lack of finances, and lack of ability to do a lot of things for ourselves. I got my disability money because of physical disabilities. I did not get paid money for being autistic. I did not get paid money for having post-traumatic stress disorder. I got paid money in specific because of back injuries. I got my own problems to worry about, right? And who cares about quote-unquote mentally ill people, right? Well, let me tell you something. Raymond is a human being. There's been more than one person that was going to beat him up just because he asked for a cigarette. Got angry and irate and yelled at him at least. I'm not going to let him freeze to death. If I can help it, I'm not going to make him run around without clothes. I got to talk to Stormy tonight. She wanted to use my phone to try to get a hold of somebody because she was sent on an errand with a food stamp card and she forgot the information and she was going to call the dude and I don't know what happened. I gave her a jacket. She left the jacket over at somebody's place that didn't feel like he should keep his hands to himself. Well, I let her know I'm not going to expect her to go back there for my jacket. When somebody does something like that to you, no, none of my possessions that you borrowed are worth going back into that situation. Anyway, so Stormy talked to me tonight because she wanted to use my phone. And I've gone into the grocery store several times for her because she's not allowed in there. One of the things the people at Safeway have also noticed, and some of them didn't really notice it until I said something. They say, hey, you know, the police won't do anything for us. They won't do anything for anybody really anymore unless it's murder or something like that. They're not going to respond. I said, well, how often do they respond to shoplifters? Every time. With Raymond missing, I hope I'm not the only person who was nice to him. And I'm fairly certain I'm not. I'm not the only person who was nice to him. But I don't think I'd ever told Raymond no before. And I wasn't telling him no that time either. If I didn't have a cigarette to give him, I'd tell him I didn't have a cigarette. But if I had one, I gave him one. I haven't seen him. I looked at the last time I saw him. That video is still on my YouTube channel. It was from 8 days ago. And it seems I must have talked to somebody who gave me their phone number because I have it unlisted currently. I don't know Raymond's last name, so that's not a big help. I don't want to be worried about Raymond right now. I've got my own stuff I need to worry about. Anyway, you can hear people driving by and being pretty loud about it. Hard to sleep through it. It's also hard to sleep through back pain. And then there's the fact that I've had to deal with people throwing stuff and beating on my vehicle and all that crap all hours of day and night. It's not like they do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the fact that they do it enough, though, that I gotta constantly be looking over my shoulder for some nut job. And out of the violent nut jobs that I worry about, Raymond has not shown himself to be a violent nut job. He doesn't swing at me, doesn't hit me, doesn't kick me, doesn't beat on my vehicle. He doesn't do any of that. He just comes up asking for cigarettes. I know how it feels when you only have one person who's actually nice to you. And I know how it is when it's really frustrating a situation and you need help and people just don't understand. Well, with him being in a hurry for a cigarette, that's a lot different story than it is with me. I'm far less worried about that cigarette and far more worried about your life, your safety. The people in the Dalles, they do all that messed up stuff to Jamie because they know they can. They know they can get away with it. They know she's small, so she's not going to fight back except verbally because it's all she's got. They know that if Jamie wants it to stop, nobody's going to stop it. Everyone's just going to watch while people throw stuff at her, while people hit her. And then, of course, just like the video Jamie again, you can hear Jamie. You can hear her yelling. She's freaking out for a reason. And what did she get for it? Punched in the head. And the guy used the excuse of she's family and not everybody's mental out there and everybody's sick of hearing it. She's got a PTSD reaction from long-term abuse. And somehow she ended up getting treated like the bad guy in the situation. Well, Raymond is kind of the same boat. That's also the thing about Farnsworth that I kept worrying about. People kept telling me that folks were beating him up. Like, well, it might make you feel better to know somebody beat him up over by the Safeway. No, that doesn't make me feel better. The goal here is not to share violence. It's not to have violent experiences. It's to get people to stop the violence. Thing is, poor people don't trust the cops, and there's a reason they don't trust the cops. Poor people don't trust the courts either. Because everybody involved in the criminal justice system, every one of them, take advantage of poor people every single day that they go to work. Every single day. I'm gonna end this video, I think. Good to be rid of you. Thank you for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's keeper too. And no victim left behind. By the way, it's 3 a.m. now. Couldn't stop thinking about Raymond, you know? I don't even know who to go to ask if he's all right. I know there's a couple other people I asked if they'd seen him and they hadn't. One of them said that there's a lot of people real pissed off at Raymond. And he owes a lot of people, apparently. Raymond does not owe me anything. I just want to know he's all right.